This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The Iranian foreign minister said that there are indications suggesting that Israel and the U.S. were involved in the assassination of Iranian nuclear scientist Masoud Ali Mohammadi. The Iranian scientist was killed this morning in his home in Tehran when a nearby explosive device detonated.
Iran's conservative Farsi news agency stated that an overseas Iranian opposition group that supports the former monarchic regime claimed responsibility for the assassination.
Our correspondent in Iran, Milham Raya, has the details.
For the first time in several years, a security violation in Iran led to the death of a prominent scientific figure. Masoud Ali Mohammadi, a nuclear scientist and professor at Tehran University, was killed in a blast. The explosive device was placed in a motorcycle near his house in the Gaitariya district of northern Tehran. Immediately, fingers of blame were pointed at Israel, the U.S., and the Mujahideen al-Khalq organization, the MEK, for being behind the incident. Surveillance sources said that the assassination was well planned. This leads to questions about the severity of this security violation.
In fact, this incident was a clear security violation targeting a prominent figure in physics and nuclear research. Therefore, we believe that relevant security institutions should take measures to prevent similar assassinations from happening again.
Official sources have ruled out the possibility of linking the incident to the internal crisis. They added that the continuous threats from the U.S. over Iran's nuclear program justifies the accusation against the U.S. Tehran also accuses the U.S. of being involved in kidnapping the nuclear scientist Shahram Amiri in Saudi Arabia several months ago.
Kidnapping the Iranian physicist in this manner was an act of terrorism, and it had no link to internal issues. It resembles an Israeli act of terrorism.
But the threats from the U.S. to impose new sanctions and the possibility of using military options to deal with Iran's nuclear program have not forced Tehran to change its conditions on the atomic fuel swap deal.
We are still waiting for Western countries to respond to our proposal of buying highly enriched fuel or making an interim fuel swap deal. As for the threats to impose sanctions, they are not effective and will not make us compromise our rights.
The accusation that the U.S. and Israel are behind the assassination of the Iranian nuclear scientist and the announcement by the Iranian Foreign Ministry that the 3 American detainees in Iran will be tried will increase the tension of the nuclear issue. Some political observers believe that this situation will speed up the sanctions on Iran. Milham Raya, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
Iranian sources described nuclear scientist Masoud Ali Mohammadi, who was assassinated today, as committed and revolutionary, indicating that Mohammadi belonged to the category of what they called the conservative group.
The Iranian sources indicated that he was involved in secret political missions.
Professor Mohammadi worked in the Department of Physics in Tehran University.
He has published more than 50 dissertations and theses in academic fields.
Intelligence sources indicated that the Israeli intelligence agency, Mossad, was involved in the assassination of the Iranian nuclear scientist Ardashir Hassanpour 3 years ago.
The British Daily Telegraph revealed about a year ago that Israel launched a hidden war on Iran to block its nuclear program and assassinate its prominent scientists.
Iran revealed late last year that its nuclear scientist, Shahram Amiri, was kidnapped in Saudi Arabia and was sent to the U.S.
Saudi Arabia was startled by Iran's accusation of it being involved in his kidnapping. Joining us from Tehran is Mohammed Marandi, professor of political science in Tehran University. Mr. Mohammed, what do you think of these accusations by Iran against Israel and the U.S. of being involved in the assassination? Will there be any specific response to that?
Well, I think obviously
أعتقد أن من الواضح أن الولايات المتحدة وإسرائيل سوف تحاول.
Well, I think obviously the U.S. and Israel will try to deny any involvement in this assassination as usual.
سوف تحاولان من خلال وسائل الإعلام الغربية تقديم.
Through Western media, they will try to provide other reasons or excuses for the murder. But the matter is clear in the eyes of my colleagues in Tehran University.
أعين زملائي في جامعة طهران.
We are all very saddened by this assassination, and we believe that it was a well-planned operation. The professor was involved in the Iranian nuclear program. The U.S. and Israel were involved in the assassination through terrorist organizations such as the MEK, which is financially supported by the U.S. and has members there. This will make Iranians even angrier, and the Iranian government will impose stricter measures to deal with the U.S., since it continuously shows its hatred for Iran. This may aggravate and complicate the relations between the two countries.
The Iranian parliament has released a report denying allegations of lewd acts on detainees at the Qarizak prison. The report, prepared over a period of 4 months, held officials at the Qarizak prison responsible for the deaths of 3 young detainees, saying that the order of transfer was unjustified.
After 4 months of inquiry, the Parliamentary Committee in Tehran released its report on the Qarizak incidents. From the chamber of the Iranian parliament, the committee read its findings. Since the early days of the post-election protests to the closure of the Qarizak prison by the order of the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, many disturbing events developed on the Iranian spectrum. According to knowledgeable sources, much of the blame for what took place in Iran can be attributed to the unusual events that followed the presidential election.
We must acknowledge the real reasons behind these incidents. Among them are allegations of election fraud and illegal protests. These factors have helped fuel the incidents which could have been avoided if everyone respected the law.
The Iranian Parliamentary Monitoring Committee has not ruled out any suspect of wrongdoing from its investigation. The Parliamentary Investigative Committee interviewed former Tehran prosecutor Syed Mortazawi, officials of Qarizak and even prisons, as well as the detainees. The Parliamentary Committee blamed the Tehran prosecutor over the illegal transfer of the detainees from Evin prison to Qarizak. The committee rejected the prosecutor's claim that Evin prison had run out of space for the detainees. On the other hand, the fact-finding committee denied that any of the detainees had been subjected to any immoral or lewd acts. The committee, however, held the prison officials responsible for the death of the 3 young men, dismissing medical reports, claiming they died of meningitis. In light of the evidence shown in the latest report by the Iranian parliament, the files of Qarizak may be reopened again.
As you know, the judiciary authorities have the last word in this case. We, as a parliamentary monitoring agency, have fulfilled our duty and published our report. The judiciary will decide how to deal with the perpetrators.
The Iranian parliament has referred the Qarizak case to the judiciary system. By the same token, the report may close a controversy that has been, until recent days, a platform for political maneuvers. Mortadin Degher, Al-Alam, Tehran.
Iraqi security forces have taken intensive security measures after receiving information that a terrorist group plans on blowing up booby-trapped vehicles in Baghdad. They enforce strict security measures to protect Iraqi citizens.
Today, Iraqis are going through strict security measures in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. The measures have decreased the usual traffic jams. Security forces surrounded different areas and closed most of the bridges that link Baghdad to Karach. In some areas, they also launched wide-scale raids and search operations. The entrances that link Baghdad to the rest of the provinces were also closed. Due to the strict security measures, the traffic was light and most businesses suffered as a result.
When we left this morning and arrived to the Jumhuriya checkpoint, we were told that there were booby-trapped vehicles and were told to go back. I called the police and they also told me to go back.
Some citizens were forced to walk back home because they could no longer use their own vehicles.
I went to work this morning, but when I arrived in the mosque, they told me that the road is closed. So we went back home.
Iraqi authorities said that these security measures are not to be misunderstood as a curfew. They said that they are only preemptive and precautionary security measures.
Baghdad has security threats, and armed groups never stop threatening the citizens. These groups usually attack markets, mosques, and other places where large numbers of Iraqis gather.
الإجراءات تم تخفيفها في بعض المناطق وعادت الحركة فيها بشكل تدريجي.
The security measures were eased in some areas and the traffic gradually increased. However, Baghdad and most other provinces will witness additional security measures until the parliamentary elections are held. This was confirmed by Iraqi officials who urged citizens to take precautionary measures and to be careful. Haidar al-Rubiyyeh al-Arabiya.
Top story, tensions are on the rise in the south of the country following an IAF airstrike on the northern Gaza Strip last night, in which 3 Islamic Jihad militants were killed as they attempted to fire rockets into Israel. IBA's Dennis Zinn has the details.
The 3 men killed during the aerial strike in the central Gaza Strip last night were all members of the Islamic Jihad terror group. One was identified as Awad Abu Nadir, a senior military commander. According to eyewitnesses, they were preparing to fire a rocket at Israel at the time of the attack. A 4th member of the squad was wounded and evacuated to hospital in Gaza City. The strike came just hours after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned the terrorist groups in Gaza that any attempt to launch missiles at Israel will be met with force. Both the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad condemned the Israeli action, calling it a violent provocation. An Islamic Jihad spokesman said that the group will take revenge at the time it chooses. Israel is trying to goad us into responding, he said, and we will not follow the lead. However, military analysts in Israel said, while the group would like to step up its attacks on Israel, it is being held back by the Hamas administration, keen to prevent an escalation of violence. The Hamas leaders are worried by the underground wall that is being built on the Egyptian side of the border and by the stalled negotiations with Israel over the prisoner release. The analysts point to the fact that the rocket launches of late have been sporadic and widely inaccurate, and that most of the mortars fired at Israel have actually fallen on the Gaza side of the border. This probably indicates, they said, that the launch crews have been under extreme pressure to hide their activities from the Hamas security forces, and that if Hamas gave the green light, there would be many more missile attacks on Israel. The IDF is also on high alert, as proven in last night's aerial strike. Dennis Zinn, IBA News.
Meanwhile, Defense Minister Ehud Barak today conveyed a strong message to Hamas to prevent rocket fire or bear the consequences. Responding to the recent escalation of violence along the border with Gaza, Barak said that Hamas would be wise to avoid any direct confrontation with Israel. The defense chief said Hamas is not doing enough to rein in the rocket fire from other terror groups, saying they must take control or else. The comments were made as Barak reviewed last week's successful testing of the Iron Dome anti-rocket defense system. While praising the technological breakthrough, Barak stressed the system will not provide complete protection.
Israel has given the green light to build 2 fences along the Egyptian border in a bid to halt a growing flood of African refugees and asylum seekers who have poured into the country in recent years. IBA's Eli Wogelanter has that story.
This is a strategic decision to ensure the Jewish and democratic character of the State of Israel. Those were the words of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu explaining why Israel will construct 2 fences along parts of the long, porous southern desert border with Egypt. Israel will remain open to war refugees, but we cannot allow thousands of illegal workers to infiltrate into Israel via the southern border and flood our country, added Netanyahu. The 2 fences will cover a total of 120 kilometers, one in southwest Israel near the Gaza town of Rafah and the other near Eilat. Government spokesman Mark Regev said a date has not been set for the construction plan, which government ministers approved last evening. The project is expected to cost over $1 billion shekels. Israel has become a popular destination for African refugees and job seekers fleeing war-wrecked and impoverished countries. Police say 100 to 200 Africans enter illegally through Egypt each week, and around 19,000 asylum seekers have poured into Israel since 2005. Israel's policy toward the asylum seekers has been muddled with frequent changes in rules and procedures. At present, Africans who cross into Israel through Egypt are detained for several months in a nearby prison while their applications are processed. Most are eventually given 1-month visas to stay in Israel, which they must renew every month. They are not allowed to work, but the government turns a blind eye, and most find low-skilled jobs like dishwashers and hotel bellboys across the country. Many live in crowded slums in Tel Aviv or in Eilat. The relatively low-tech barrier will include radars to detect human movement. Eli Wogelanter, IBA News.
Hamas political boss Khalid Mashal says a clear and final answer regarding Israel's latest offer to release prisoners in return for kidnapped IDF soldier Gilad Shalit will be given to the German mediator within days. According to a Hamas website, Mashal made the statements during a visit to Doha, where he added that the deal is currently at a very significant and delicate stage. The Hamas leader also accused Israel of trying to hinder the negotiations. Mashal's message contradicts earlier statements made by his deputy, Musa Abu Marzouk, who was quoted Sunday in the London-based Al Hayat newspaper, saying that Hamas is expecting a response from Israel in respect to his group's latest demands within 2 days. Abu Marzouk stressed that currently there is no deal, and should negotiations fail, full responsibility will lie on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's shoulders. On Sunday, Netanyahu stated that Israel will not release what he termed symbols of terror in any prisoner swap.
The Reporters Without Borders report that gave Saudi Arabia a low ranking for freedom of the press created a wave of condemnation by many journalists in the country. This news comes despite the fact that many human rights organizations confirmed the report. More details with Omar Al-Zubaydi.
Reporters Without Borders has listed Saudi Arabia among the 10 worst countries when it comes to freedom of the press. According to the international organization, the government forced a number of journalists to resign after they criticized the government's performance. According to the organization's report, the kingdom has recently reduced its censorship because of the power struggle between reformers and conservatives, not because the government respects freedom of the press. The organization also criticized the government's closure of a satellite channel based in Saudi Arabia and more than 400,000 internet sites.
Sometimes the ranking conducted by Reporters Without Borders does not comply with scientific or logical standards and is not based on an understanding of the situation in the kingdom. Therefore, the organization's ranking of other countries might be accurate, but it seems that it doesn't understand the situation in every country. From a technical point of view, I have my reservations in regards to the ranking of Saudi Arabia.
A number of other journalists share this view.
These international reports can be based on wrong information and data, and therefore their conclusions can be inaccurate. We would like to testify that during the reign of Khalid Mohammed al-Sharif and King Abdullah, there has been an unprecedented level of freedom of the press.
Political reasons could be behind the motivations of Reporters Without Borders, not to convey the whole truth. There might be a plan or a certain arrangement. The government serves the interest of the country. But I'm sure that the Saudi media has a great deal of credibility in its covering of the news.
However, the Human Rights Association released a report criticizing the regulations set for the print media. The association said that the regulations are vague and give the government the right to interfere with media coverage. Reporters Without Borders called on the Saudi kingdom not to interfere with media agencies in their coverage of government neglect and violations. The report also criticized the government's closure of websites and the detention of people who provide the media with information or commentary on public issues. While events on the ground show that freedom of the press is not absolutely perfect in Saudi Arabia, Saudi citizens seem to be satisfied with it. However, some still hope to one day have real freedom of the press. Omar Al-Zubaydi, BBC, Al-Riyadh.
Time does not pass in Gaza. The scene of martyred people is the same today, the same as yesterday's, the same as last year's, and the same as decades ago. The scene repeats itself and does not change. Despite that fact, during the latest aggression on Gaza, we reminisce about the days when time used to pass by and scenes used to change.
How similar is today to yesterday? It seems like the clock of time has stopped and the scene remains the same. Siege, shelling, airstrikes by the Israeli occupation, leaving a wake of martyred, wounded, and destroyed homes, and the lack of basic supplies for the Gazans. On this day a year ago, Gaza was on the 13th day of its fierce battle against the Israeli occupation and its caste-led operation. On this day, Gaza's landscape changed immensely. Whole neighborhoods were razed to the ground. A large number of Palestinians, including children, women, and seniors, were deprived of their lives by internationally banned weapons. On this day, more than 10 Palestinians were martyred in Gaza, Khan Yunus, and Beit Lahia. In addition, scores of victims were found who died because rescue units were forbidden from reaching them. Among these corpses were women leaving behind their children hungry and in a horrific environment. The Israeli aggression on Gaza did not only target the Palestinians, but anyone who offered them help, even the employees of the United Nations. The UN lost more than 21 of its employees in the war by the Israeli occupation army. By the 13th day of the war, Gaza lost 707 of its people and 3,100 were injured. Until today, Gaza was being shelled and its people were being killed. Until today, Gaza remained defiant and screamed in the face of the killer.
غادرت قافلة شريان الحياة 3 قطاع غزة المحاصر عبر معبر رفح.
The aid convoy Artery of Life 3 has left the Gaza Strip through the Rafah crossing after it handed over supplies to relevant institutions, including charity and humanitarian organizations and residents of the Strip. During the convoy's visit, the participants toured the areas destroyed during the latest Israeli aggression on Gaza. A media spokesman for the convoy confirmed that despite all the obstacles, they managed to deliver a message of support to the Palestinian people and demanded an end to the Israeli siege, even though there was not enough time to communicate with local residents, charity organizations, and other social organizations.
ومؤسسات المجتمع المدني. وبذلك تكون القافلة قد أمضت داخل القطاع 48 ساعة وهي المدة التي حددت.
The convoy stayed in Gaza for 48 hours, which was the maximum time limit for the visit. 530 convoy members from 17 countries and 139 cargo trucks entered the Strip after 45 cars were denied entrance.
45 سيارة.
The Egyptian archaeological delegation, working on the pyramids of Giza, announced the discovery of a collection of tombs traced back to the 4th dynasty. This is considered to be one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 21st century.
The new discovery, pertaining to the workers who built the pyramids of Khufu, proves that they were not built with forced labor or by non-Egyptians. The Khufu pyramid was the largest construction project in Egypt's history.
Here in the backyard of the Giza pyramids near the pyramid of Khufu, you can travel back in time to the beginning of the 4th dynasty 4,500 years ago. It was then that Egyptian workers built this great pyramid for the second greatest Egyptian pharaoh, King Khufu. During the search for treasures in this unique area, the Egyptian archaeological delegation discovered the tombs of workers who built the great pyramid of Khufu.
This week, we discovered tombs of one of the foremen named Idu. The workers who were under his supervision were buried in small burial sites near their foreman's tomb. The foreman's tomb has been completely excavated. There were no gold or silver funerary objects because they were stolen.
This recent big discovery revealed an important fact. The pyramids were not built by slave labor or came from a lost continent, but was built by ancient Egyptians who contributed in Egypt's national construction project.
It's very important for us to inform the whole world that the discovery of these tombs will end the lies that have been circulating worldwide, that the pyramids were built by space aliens, or by the lost civilization of Atlantis, or by the Jews. This discovery confirms all the names of the workers. What we found inside the tomb were Egyptian names.
By studying the bones and skeletons found in the small burial sites, we can verify that the skeletons we've discovered are indeed the remains of the workers who built the pyramid.
These modern Egyptian workers are searching for their ancestors who built the pyramids. The Giza pyramids still fascinate many people with their mysterious secrets. This area is one of the oldest archaeological regions in Egypt, but it still contains many treasures, such as the sun temples and the tombs of workers who built the pyramids. The important thing is to unveil the truth of an ancient myth. From the Giza pyramids area, Assam TG, Egyptian TV.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.